May I sit here? The Hell's Angel froze, coffee cup suspended midair. 4 years of practice silence, shattered by 3 words from a 9-year-old in a purple wheelchair. Nobody approached Jackson Reaper Cole. Not the cops who tracked him, not the bikers who feared him, not even the ghosts that haunted him. But this disabled girl, the most dangerous man in the diner, and saw something nobody else had. Someone worth sitting with. When she pulled out a sketchbook of his dead wife and her dead mother as angels watching over them, his hands trembled for the first time since the accident. "They want us to be happy again," she whispered. The cup shattered. So did he, Doc. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. And comment below telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let's get back to how it all began. The waitress knew better than to make eye contact. Maggie had worked at Riverside Diner for 16 years, long enough to read danger in a man's pasture. The Hell's Angel in the corner booth radiated it like heat off asphalt in July. His leather vest bore patches most people couldn't decipher, but the 1% rocker and the Sergeant at Arms insignia told her everything she needed to know. This wasn't a man you chatted with about the weather. Coffee. He'd said that first morning 3 years ago. Nothing else. Never anything else. She poured it black, left him alone, collected her tip. The routine never varied except today. "Excuse me, miss." The voice was small, uncertain. Maggie turned to find a little girl in a wheelchair, purple with stickers of stars and moons, looking up at her with dark, intelligent eyes. Behind her, an elderly couple hovered nervously. "Sweetheart, let me get you folks a table. May I sit there?" The child pointed directly at the corner booth. At him, the diner went silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Jackson Reaper Cole looked up slowly from his newspaper. His face, weathered and hard, could have been carved from granite. A scar ran from his left eyebrow to his hairline. His hands, wrapped around the coffee cup, bore tattoos that disappeared under his leather sleeves. Skulls, flames, memorial dates. The little girl met his gaze without flinching. "Emma," the elderly woman whispered urgently. "We can sit over here. May I sit with you, please?" Emma asked again, looking directly at Reaper. "I have something to show you." Maggie held her breath. She'd seen men twice Reaper's size cross the street when they spotted his club colors. She'd watched police officers choose different tables rather than sit near him. And now this child, who couldn't have weighed more than 60 pounds, was asking to share his booth. Reaper's jaw tightened. His fingers drummed once against the ceramic mug, a tell Maggie had noticed when he was irritated. Several seconds passed. The elderly man cleared his throat uncomfortably, reaching for the wheelchair handles. "We're sorry to disturb." "She can sit." The words came out rough, like they'd scraped over gravel. Reaper folded his newspaper and moved his coffee to one side, making space. Emma's face lit up. "Thank you." She maneuvered her wheelchair forward with practiced efficiency, and Maggie noticed her legs were thin, motionless. The elderly couple exchanged worried glances, but helped position her at the table. "We'll be right over there," the woman said, pointing to a booth across the aisle. "If you need anything, I'll be fine, Grandma Helen." Emma was already pulling a worn sketchbook from her backpack. Maggie brought orange juice without being asked. She remembered the girl from previous visits. Always with that sketchbook, always sitting with the elderly couple, never smiling much. The couple reluctantly settled into their own booth, watching their granddaughter with obvious anxiety. Reaper stared at the little girl across from him. He hadn't invited anyone to sit with him in years, not since Maria died. The MC brothers knew better. The club had its tables near the back when they came in groups, but Reaper's corner booth was sacred territory. His isolation respected his grief-given space, and now this kid was opening her sketchbook like she'd been invited to a tea party. "What's your name?" Emma asked, her small hands flipping through pages. "Reaper." She looked up. "That's not a real name." Despite himself, something flickered in his chest. "It's what people call me. It's scary." "Were you trying to be scary?" "Wasn't trying, just am." Emma tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. I don't think that's so. I think you're sad, not scary. Sad people sometimes look mean because they're protecting themselves. That's what my therapist says. Reaper's hands tightened around his mug. Kid, my name is Emma. Emma Hartley. I'm 9 years old. I have cerebral palsy, which is why I use a wheelchair, but my brain works really good. I like to draw. She found the page she wanted and turned the sketchbook around to face him. I drew you. Reaper looked down at the drawing and felt something lodge in his throat. It was him. Unmistakably him, sitting on his Harley Davidson, the morning sun behind him, his face turned slightly toward the horizon. She'd captured details he didn't realize anyone noticed, the way his bandana always tilted left, the specific patches on his vest, even the guardian bell hanging from his bike's frame. But more than that, she'd drawn something in his expression that he'd thought he'd buried. Loneliness. Where did you? The newspaper. 18 months ago, your motorcycle club did a toy run for sick children at the hospital. I was in the hospital then. Emma's finger traced the edge of the drawing. There were lots of pictures of the bikers, but yours was my favorite. You weren't smiling like the others. You looked like you were thinking about someone. Reaper's chest tightened. That toy run had been 4 months after Maria's death, the club's annual Christmas event. He'd gone because it was expected, because the sergeant-at-arms didn't skip club obligations, but he'd felt like a ghost the entire day, going through motions in a world that no longer made sense. I've drawn you 14 times, Emma continued, flipping through her sketchbook. Each page showed variations of that same image. Him on his bike, him standing beside it, him looking at something in the distance. I was trying to understand what you were thinking about. Why? Because I think about someone, too. Someone who isn't here anymore. Emma's voice dropped. My mama died 19 months ago. Car accident. It hurt me, too. Which is why I use the wheelchair now. But mama died, and sometimes when I look at things, I see her in my head. I think you see someone, too. The diner sounds faded. Clinking silverware, murmured conversations, Maggie's sensible shoes on linoleum. Reaper stared at this little girl who'd somehow reached into his chest and pulled out truths he'd told no one. My wife, he said finally. Maria, 4 years ago, motorcycle accident. Emma nodded slowly, as if he'd confirmed something she'd suspected. Were you with her? Yeah. Did you get hurt? Walked away with scratches. She didn't walk away at all. The words tasted like bile, bitter and corrosive. He'd said them to the police, to the club, to Maria's family, but never to a child. Never with someone looking at him without pity, without the careful distance people maintained around grief. Emma reached across the table and touched his hand, just her small fingers resting lightly on his scarred knuckles. I'm sorry you couldn't save her. I'm sorry she had to go, but I'm glad you're still here. Reaper's breath caught. Kid, Emma, she corrected gently. Emma, you don't know me. You don't know what kind of man. I know you're the kind of man who helps sick children at Christmas. Even when you're sad. I know you're the kind of man who said yes when I asked to sit here. Even though you wanted to say no. I know you're still coming to this diner every morning, which means you're still trying. Emma pulled her hand back and returned to her sketchbook. That's enough for me. Across the aisle, her grandmother, Helen, dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Her grandfather, Robert, stared into his coffee, his shoulders shaking slightly. Maggie approached cautiously. What can I get for you, sweetie? Pancakes with strawberries, please. And can Mr. Reaper have more coffee? I think he needs it. It's just Reaper, he muttered. But something in his voice had shifted, softened. Emma smiled. The first real smile Maggie had seen on the child's face. Okay, just Reaper. The pancakes arrived. Emma ate slowly, methodically, asking him questions between bites. Not intrusive questions. She didn't ask about the club, about his past, about the obvious danger written into every line of his body. Instead, she asked about his motorcycle, about riding, about what the wind felt like at 70 miles per hour. Free, Reaper said finally. It feels free. I dream about that sometimes, Emma said softly. Going fast, feeling the wind, being free instead of. She gestured at her wheelchair instead of stuck. Yeah, her voice wavered. Instead of stuck, Reaper found himself talking. Actually talking more than he had in months. He told her about different routes he'd ridden. About the California coast and the Nevada desert. About the way sunrise looked from a mountain pass. Emma listened with complete attention, occasionally sketching while he spoke, her pencil moving across paper in short strokes. Time moved strangely. He wasn't sure if 15 minutes had passed or 50. But when Emma's grandmother finally approached their table, Reaper felt an unfamiliar sensation. Disappointment. Emma, sweetheart, we need to get going. You have physical therapy at 11 o'clock. Emma nodded carefully, packing her sketchbook. She looked up at Reaper, her dark eyes serious. Can I sit with you again tomorrow? Every instinct told him to say no, to protect this kid from his darkness, his reputation, his disaster of a life, to go back to his corner booth and his careful isolation. But what came out was, yeah, tomorrow. Emma's smile could have powered the entire diner. Thank you, just Reaper. Her grandparents helped her navigate away from the table. Robert gave Reaper a cautious nod. Helen mouthed, thank you, with tears in her eyes. Maggie refilled his coffee. That was kind of you. Wasn't being kind, sure. Maggie's smile was knowing. Whatever you say. Reaper watched through the window as the elderly couple helped Emma into an old station wagon, collapsing her wheelchair and lifting her carefully into the back seat. The whole process took several minutes, and both grandparents moved with obvious fatigue and difficulty. He was about to return to his newspaper when Helen's voice carried through the diner's open door. She was on her cell phone, standing beside the station wagon while Robert finished securing Emma inside. I know we agreed to take her, Susan, but I don't know if we can do this anymore. Helen's voice cracked. She's 9 years old, and she needs so much. The physical therapy, the doctor appointments, the special equipment. Robert's back is getting worse from lifting her, and I'm so tired I can barely. She paused, listening. I know we're her only option, but what if we're not enough? What if we're failing her? Robert emerged from the car and wrapped his arm around his wife. Helen, we'll figure it out, will we? Because yesterday, the social worker called asking if we'd considered other placement options. Other placement, Robert, like Emma's a piece of furniture. We can just. Her voice dissolved into tears. Reaper's hands clenched into fists. That little girl in there, the one who'd drawn him 14 times, the one who'd seen past his scars and patches to something worth sitting with. Her own family was talking about giving her up. The station wagon pulled away. Helen was still crying. Emma's face appeared in the back window, looking back at the diner, probably already planning what to draw next. Maggie cleared his table. You okay? No, me neither. She picked up Emma's juice glass where the child had left a folded napkin. Maggie unfolded it and gasped softly. Oh, honey. She showed Reaper the napkin. Emma had drawn on it in quick, efficient lines, a simple sketch of him and her sitting at the booth, coffee and pancakes between them. Underneath in careful letters, Thank you for letting me sit with you. Nobody ever does. Reaper took the napkin, his hands unsteady. He'd spent 4 years building walls, constructing an impenetrable fortress around what was left of his heart. He'd become exactly what people saw, dangerous, unapproachable, isolated. He'd convinced himself it was protection, that staying alone meant staying safe from more loss. But this kid had walked right through every defense with a simple question and a sketchbook full of truth. Maggie, he said quietly, those people, Emma's grandparents, what's their situation? Maggie sat down across from him, something she'd never done in 3 years. Helen and Robert Hartley, good people, took Emma in after her mother died, because there was nobody else. Emma's father's never been in the picture, but they're in their 70s, barely getting by on social security. Emma's medical needs are expensive, and they're drowning. The system's not helping. The system's a nightmare. Foster care is overloaded. Emma needs specialized care, and most foster families can't handle it. The Hartleys love her, but love doesn't pay physical therapy bills or buy wheelchair-accessible vehicles. Maggie's expression was sad. I've watched them come in here for months. They're good people doing their best with an impossible situation. Reaper stared at the napkin drawing, at the little girl who'd seen something worth drawing 14 times, at his own rough sketch, sitting there looking almost human. Where do they live? Maggie hesitated. Why? Because that kid asked if she could sit with me again tomorrow, and I said yes, and I don't break promises. Something shifted in Maggie's expression. She pulled out her order pad and wrote down an address. The house needs work. The porch ramp is falling apart. But Reaper, she waited until he met her eyes. You need to be sure about this because that little girl's been abandoned enough. If you're going to step in, you can't step out. Reaper folded the napkin carefully and tucked it into his vest pocket, right over his heart. I'm sure. He left cash on the table, double his usual amount, and walked out into the morning sun. His holly waited in its usual spot, chrome gleaming. The guardian bell swung gently from the frame. The small brass bell Maria had given him on their 5th anniversary. To keep you safe, she'd said. So you always come home to me. He'd worn the bell for 8 years. It hadn't kept Maria safe, but maybe it had been waiting for something else, someone else. Reaper straddled his bike, feeling the familiar weight settle into his bones, but instead of heading toward the clubhouse or the open road, his usual escapes, he pulled out the address Maggie had given him. 20 minutes later, he stood in front of a small house with peeling paint and a porch that sagged dangerously on one side. The wheelchair ramp was homemade and barely functional, held together with duct tape and prayer dot. An old station wagon sat in the driveway, its bumper held on with wire. Through the front window, he could see Emma at a table, her sketchbook open, her small hand moving across the page, drawing again. Always drawing. Robert hardly opened the door before Reaper could knock. The old man's eyes widened, then narrowed. Can I help you? Need to talk to you about Emma. I don't know what. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here because that kid sat with me this morning and showed me something I needed to see, and because I heard you on the phone talking about giving up. Reaper met Robert's gaze steadily. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do this alone. Robert's jaw worked. You don't understand. I understand losing someone you can get back. I understand waking up every day, wondering why you're still here when they're not. And I understand that little girl in there is holding on by her fingernails. Same as you. Same as me. Reaper paused. I've got skills. Carpentry, mechanical work. And I've got a brotherhood that moves mountains when someone needs help. If you'll let me, I'd like to fix some things. Starting with that ramp. We can't pay. Don't want payment. Want to help a kid who asked if she could sit with me and made me remember what that feels like. Reaper's voice roughened to matter to someone. Robert stared at him for a long moment. Behind him, Helen appeared, her eyes red from crying. Emma's voice floated from inside. Grandpa, who's at the door? It's the man from the diner. Sweetheart, Helen called back, her voice carefully steady. Just Reaper. Emma's wheelchair appeared in the hallway. Her face lit up when she saw him. You came to visit. Came to fix your ramp. Reaper said, if that's okay with your grandparents. Emma looked at Helen and Robert with such hope that it hurt to witness. Can he, please? Helen's eyes filled with fresh tears, but she nodded. Yes, sweetheart. He can. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Reaper said with tools and materials. That ramp's a safety hazard. Thank you. Robert said quietly. We've been meaning to fix it, but I know. Reaper turned to go, then stopped. Emma. See you at the diner tomorrow. Same booth. Same booth. Her smile was radiant. I'll bring you drawings. Reaper nodded and walked back to his bike. As he rode away, he glanced in his mirror and saw Emma on the porch, waving enthusiastically while her grandparents held each other, crying. The guardian bell rang softly as he accelerated. Maybe Maria's gift was still working after all, just not the way either of them had expected. The sun wasn't up yet when Reaper's truck pulled into the Hartley driveway, bed loaded with lumber, power tools, and hardware that had cost him $300 at the home improvement store. He'd left the clubhouse at 5, too wired to sleep, Maria's guardian bell rattling in his pocket, like a reminder. Robert opened the door in his bathrobe, eyes wide. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Ramp's not going to fix itself. Reaper hauled her to buy 4 from the truck bed. You got coffee? Yes, but good. I work better caffeinated. By 7. The old ramp was demolished and Reaper was measuring angles for the new structure. Helen appeared with coffee and toast, her hands shaking slightly as she set the plate down. You really don't have to do this. Already doing it. Reaper didn't look up from his work. Besides, told Emma I would. Don't break promises to kids. Helen's voice dropped. She's been up since 5:30, sitting at the window watching for you. She drew 3 more pictures before breakfast. Something twisted in Reaper's chest. She draws a lot constantly. It's how she processes things. Her therapist says it's healthy, but sometimes I wonder if she's trying to draw herself into a different life. Helen's eyes filled. One where she can walk, where her mother's still alive, where she's not a burden to 2 old people who can barely stop. Reaper's voice was firm. You're not old, you're tired. There's a difference. And that kid in there, she's not a burden. She's a gift you don't even know you have yet. Helen wiped her eyes. How can you say that? You just met her. Because she asked if she could sit with me. Nobody's done that in 4 years. Everyone else is too scared or too smart. But she looked at me and saw something worth sitting with. Reaper picked up his circular saw. Kids got vision. That's rare. The saw's scream cut off conversation. Reaper worked with methodical efficiency. Muscle memory from years of club repairs and custom bike builds guiding his hands. By 9, the frame was up. By 10, the decking was going down. Emma wheeled herself onto the porch, navigating the old door frame with difficulty. Can I watch? Sure, but stay back from the saw. She positioned herself in the morning shade, sketchbook already open. You're really good at building things. At practice. Did you build things with your wife? Reaper's hands stilled on the drill. Most people avoided mentioning Maria. Her name was radioactive. Yeah, we remodeled our house together. She was better at the finish work. I just did the heavy lifting. What was her name? Maria. That's pretty like the song. Emma's pencil moved across paper. Do you still live in the house? Sold it. Couldn't stay there after his throat closed. Couldn't stay. I understand. Grandma Helen wanted to move after Mama died, but they couldn't afford it. So, we're all stuck in the same house where Mama used to be. Seeing her things, remembering Emma's voice was matter of fact, but her pencil pressed harder against the paper. Sometimes I hear Grandma crying at night. She tries to be quiet, but I hear her. Reaper drove another screw with more force than necessary. Your grandma loves you. I know. That's why it's so hard. If she didn't love me, giving me away wouldn't hurt her. But she does love me, and she's getting hurt anyway. And it's my fault, because I need too much. Stop. Reaper set down his drill and looked directly at her. Listen to me. Emma, you are 9 years old. You didn't choose to be in that car. You didn't choose to lose your mother. And you sure as hell didn't choose to need help. That's not fault. That's just life being unfair. But if I wasn't here, if you weren't here, your grandparents would have lost their daughter and their granddaughter. You think that's better? Reaper's voice roughened. You think giving up on you would make their pain less? Kid, you're the only piece of their daughter they have left. That makes you precious, not a burden. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Then why did I hear Grandma say she doesn't know if they can do this anymore? Because they're scared and tired, and they think they have to do it alone. But they don't, not anymore. Reaper turned back to his work. Now let me finish this ramp, so you can stop using that death trap. Emma wiped her eyes and resumed drawing. They worked in companionable silence until Helen called them in for lunch. The kitchen table was small, barely big enough for 4. Reaper felt like a giant wedged into the corner, his knees bumping the underside. Helen served sandwiches and chips with apologetic efficiency. It's not much. It's good, thank you. Reaper took a bite, and the simple act of eating at a family table hit him harder than expected. He'd eaten alone for 4 years. Drive-thrus, diner counters, protein bars on the road. This normal moment felt almost painful in its ordinariness. Robert cleared his throat. So, you're in a motorcycle club? Yes. Hell's Angels? Yes. That's Robert struggled 4 words. That's quite a reputation. Earn most of it. Reaper met his gaze steadily. I'm not going to lie to you. I've lived a hard life, done things I'm not proud of, but I've never hurt anyone who didn't hurt someone first, and I've never touched a kid or a woman in anger. Those are my lines. Emma piped up. What's a Hell's Angel? It's a motorcycle club, Helen said quickly. They ride together like a family. Reaper nodded slowly. Yeah, like a family. We call it a brotherhood. Do you have brothers? 23 of them in my chapter. More across the country. Emma's eyes widened. That's a lot of brothers. Are they nice? Depends on who's asking. To people who respect them, yeah, they can be. To people who cause trouble, Reaper shrug, less so. Would they be nice to me? The question hung in the air. Robert and Helen exchanged worried glances. Reaper took a long drink of water, buying time to think. Emma, my brothers, they're not typical people. They're rough. They've been through things that make them hard to be around sometimes. But they follow a code. And part of that code is protecting people who can't protect themselves. So yeah, I think they'd be nice to you, but I'd have to ask them first. Make sure they understand the situation. Could I meet them, Emma? Helen started. I want to. Emma's chin lifted with surprising stubbornness. If they're Reaper's family and Reaper is helping us, then I want to meet them. Besides, I could draw them. I bet they have interesting faces, despite everything. Reaper almost smiled. They do have interesting faces. Lots of scars and tattoos and broken noses. Perfect, Emma beamed. When can I meet them? Robert spoke up, his voice strained. I don't think we appreciate your help, Reaper, but involving more motorcycle club members with our granddaughter. I understand your concern. Reaper pushed his plate away. Here's the truth. That ramp outside cost me $300 in materials. My time is free, but the supplies aren't. I can do that kind of thing maybe once a month on my own dime. But my club, we run fundraisers. We have connections to contractors, medical supply companies, people who owe us favors. If you want real help, the kind that makes a difference long term, you need more than just me. Helen's hands trembled around her sandwich. What would we have to do? Nothing. Just let me talk to my chapter president, explain the situation, and see if the club wants to take this on as a project. No strings, no obligations, just people helping people. Why? Robert's voice was sharp. Why would a motorcycle club care about a disabled little girl they've never met? Because I care. Reaper's voice was flat. And in my club, when a brother asks for a help, we give it. No questions. That's how brotherhood works. Emma reached across the table and touched Reaper's hand. I trust you. 3 simple words. But they hit Reaper like a freight train. Because he realized with sudden clarity that he hadn't been trusted, really trusted, since Maria died. The club respected him, feared him even. But trust that required vulnerability, and he'd locked that away. Okay, Robert said finally. But if anything makes us uncomfortable, we pulled back. Agreed. After lunch, Reaper finished the ramp in 90 minutes. The new structure was solid, regulation compliant with proper railings and non-slip surfaces. Emma tested it immediately, her face glowing with delight. It's so smooth, Grandpa. Feel how smooth it is. Robert ran his hand along the railing, his eyes suspiciously bright. It's good work. Really good. Should last 10 years if you maintain it. Reaper packed his tools. I'll come by next week. Check on some other things. Your porch steps are rotting. Back door needs weather stripping. Gutters are clogged. We can't ask you to. You didn't ask. I'm offering. Reaper loaded his truck bed. See you at the diner tomorrow. Emma. Yes. I'll bring the new drawings. Reaper drove away, checking his mirror to see Emma waving from her new ramp. Helen and Robert standing behind her with expressions he couldn't quite read. Relief, gratitude, and underneath it all the bone-deep exhaustion of people who'd been fighting alone for too long. His phone buzzed. Hammer, the club's vice president. Church tonight, 8 p.m. Don't be late. Church was mandatory. The club's business meeting where decisions got made and problems got solved. Reaper had been dreading it, knowing he'd have to explain why he'd spent the morning building a wheelchair ramp instead of handling club business. The clubhouse sat on the outskirts of town, a fortified building behind chain-link fencing. Motorcycles lined the parking area, hollies mostly, some choppers, all meticulously maintained. Inside, the main room smelled like leather, motor oil, and stale beer. Reaper Hammer nodded from the bar. "You're actually on time. Miracles happen. Got something to discuss in church." "So I heard. Word travels fast." Hammer's expression was unreadable. "Building ramps for little girls now. Got a problem with that?" "Might. Depends on what you're thinking." At 8 sharp, the brothers filed into the meeting room. 23 men, all wearing cuts, displaying their ranks and patches. President Knuckles took his seat at the head of the table, his graying beard neatly trimmed, his eyes sharp as broken glass. "Let's get started. Reaper, you ask for floor time. Make it quick." Reaper stood, acutely aware of every eye on him. "I met a kid 9 years old, wheelchair-bound, orphaned, living with elderly grandparents who can't handle her needs. Systems failing them. They're drowning." Dot and Knuckles prompted. "And I want to help, but I can't do it alone. I'm asking the club to take this on as a project." Silence. Then Bones, the club's medic, spoke up. "What kind of help are we talking?" "Medical expenses, equipment, home repairs. Maybe help getting them connected to better resources. These are good people who got dealt a bad hand. We're not a charity, Reaper." This from Ball, the enforcer. "We're a brotherhood. Our resources go to brothers and their families. She's a kid who lost her mother in a car accident. Her grandparents are too old and too broke to give her what she needs, and she asked if she could sit with me." Reaper's voice roughened. "First person in 4 years to ask that. First person to look at me and see something other than a killer or a ghost. You're telling me that doesn't matter?" Hammer leaned forward. "It matters, but you're getting attached. That's dangerous. What happens when what? When I fail her like I failed Maria?" Reaper's voice cracked. "Already thought of that. But walking away because I might fail later is the same as failing now. At least if I try. She has a chance." Knuckles drummed his fingers on the table. "You're our sergeant at arms, Reaper. Your judgment keeps this club safe. If you're compromised by personal feelings, I'm not compromised. I'm finally uncompromised. For 4 years, I've been going through motions, existing but not living. This kid, Emma, she reminded me what living feels like. And maybe that makes me a better sergeant at arms, not worse. Because now I remember what we're protecting, what matters." The room fell silent. Finally, Bones spoke. "I'll check her medical situation. See what we can do. I'll handle fundraising," added Chains, the club's treasurer. "We've got that toy run coming up. Could dedicate proceeds to her expenses." One by one, brothers offered support. Not all of them. Ball remained silent, his expression skeptical. "But enough. More than enough." Hammer leaned back in his chair. "You realize if this goes sideways, if something happens to that kid while we're involved, it comes back on all of us. The club's reputation, our legal standing, everything." "I know. And you still want to do this?" "I don't want to. I have to." Reaper's voice was raw. "That kid asked if she could sit with me because nobody else would. She trusted me when everyone else saw someone to fear. If I let the system crush that trust, if I let them take her away without fighting, then I'm not the man she thought I was. And I need," his voice cracked. "I need to be that man for her, for me, for Maria. I need to get this right." Knuckles, the president, banged his gavel. "All right. Here's what we do. We cooperate fully with the investigation. We make ourselves available for interviews. We show them our tax records, our charity work, our legitimate businesses. We prove we're more than our rap sheets. And if that's not enough," he looked at Reaper, "we lawyer up and fight, because nobody messes with this club's family, and apparently Emma's family." Now, the vote was unanimous. 2 days later, Miss Brennan arrived for her home evaluation with 2 other officials. Helen had cleaned obsessively, though the house still showed its age and poverty. Emma sat in her wheelchair in the living room, the guardian bell hanging from a chain around her neck, her sketchbook in her lap. "Good morning, Emma. How are you feeling today?" "Okay." Emma's voice was flat. "I understand you've been having some difficulties. Not eating, not sleeping. I'm eating now." "That's good. Can you tell me why you stopped?" Emma's fingers tightened around her sketchbook. "Because people I care about keep leaving, and I thought if I stopped trying, it wouldn't hurt so much when the next person left. Miss Brennan's expression softened. "Emma, I'm not trying to take people away from you. I'm trying to keep you safe. I am safe. Reaper would never hurt me. Emma, Reaper has a criminal record. Assault charges, drug possession. These are serious. So do lots of people. Does that mean they can't care about anyone?" Emma's voice rose. "He's been nicer to me than almost anyone. He doesn't treat me like I'm broken. He treats me like I matter. You do matter. That's why I need to make sure." The doorbell rang. Robert answered it, then froze. There are motorcycles. Lots of motorcycles. Through the window, Miss Brennan saw them. 20 Hells Angels in full club colors, standing beside their bikes, in the Hartley's driveway. Not threatening, just present. A show of force wrapped in restraint. "What is this?" Miss Brennan's voice was tight. "They came for me." Emma wheeled to the window. "They're Reaper's family, and if he can't be here, they came instead." Hammer walked up to the front door and knocked politely. When Robert opened it, he removed his sunglasses and spoke with careful formality. "Ma'am, we understand you're conducting an investigation into our brother's involvement with this family. We'd like to be available if you have questions. We brought our business licenses, tax records, and references from the charities we work with. We're also prepared to undergo background checks beyond what's already on file." Miss Brennan stared at him. "This is highly irregular." "Yes, ma'am. So is telling a man who's been helping a disabled child that he can't have contact with her because he made mistakes in his past. We figured irregular circumstances call for irregular responses." "Are you threatening me?" "No, ma'am. We're offering cooperation. There's a difference." One of the officials with Ms. Brennan stepped forward. "I'll speak with them." Janet finished the evaluation inside. The next hours were surreal. Ms. Brennan interviewed Helen and Robert, while Emma sat quietly answering questions with careful honesty. Outside, club members presented documentation of their charitable work, their business ventures, their ties to the community. Bones provided detailed medical records showing Emma's improvement since they'd gotten involved. Change showed fundraising records, proving community support. But the turning point came when Emma asked if she could show Miss Brennan something. "I've been drawing since Mama died. It helps me process things." Emma opened her sketchbook. "This is from right after the accident when I first got to Grandma and Grandpa's house." The drawing showed a small figure in a wheelchair surrounded by darkness curled into herself. "And this is from 2 months ago, before I met Reaper." Another drawing slightly lighter, but still showing isolation. The figures of Helen and Robert were present, but distant, unable to reach the girl in the wheelchair. "And this is from last week." The latest drawing showed Emma surrounded by people, her grandparents closer now, Reaper beside her wheelchair. Other figures in leather vests in the background. The darkness was still there, but pushed back, light breaking through. "I'm not fixed," Emma said quietly. "I still have bad days. I still miss my mama so much it hurts. But I'm not alone anymore. And that matters. If you take them away, if you make Reaper leave because he has a past, then I go back to being alone. And I don't think I can survive that again." Miss Brennan studied the drawings in silence. Finally, she closed the sketchbook and handed it back. "Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Has Reaper or any of his club members ever made you feel unsafe? Ever said or done anything inappropriate?" "No, never. They've only been kind. And your grandparents? Are they able to meet your needs?" "They love me. They try really hard, but they were struggling before Reaper came. They're not struggling as much now because he helps. If you make him stop helping, they'll start struggling again." And then Emma's voice broke. Then maybe they really will have to give me away, because it'll be too hard again. The evaluation ended an hour later. Ms. Brennan and her colleagues left without giving any indication of their decision. Helen collapsed onto the couch crying. Robert put his head in his hands. Emma retreated to her room. That night, Reaper sat in his apartment staring at his phone, waiting for news. The call came at 11. Oh, Mr. Cole, this is Mrs. Brennan. I've completed my evaluation. I need to speak with you tomorrow at the county offices. 9 a.m. Please don't be late. What's your decision? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Good night. She hung up before he could respond. Reaper didn't sleep. He showed up at the county offices at 8:30, dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt, as close to respectable as his wardrobe allowed. Hammer came with him, as did Knuckles. Moral support and intimidation in equal measure. They were shown into a conference room where Ms. Brennan sat with two other officials, a stack of files in front of her. Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. Please sit down. Reaper sat, his jaw tight. Just tell me, are you taking Emma away from her family? Mrs. Brennan folded her hands. Mr. Cole, in my 15 years with CPS, I've seen a lot of complicated situations. This is one of the most complicated. You have a criminal record that on paper makes you a concerning influence for a vulnerable child. Your motorcycle club has a reputation for violence and criminal activity. Standard protocol would be to remove all contact. But I've also seen the medical improvements, the community support, the documentation your club provided. I've seen Emma's drawings, and I've seen the way that child looks when she talks about you, like you're a lifeline. Miss Brennan pulled out a file. I've made my recommendation to the court. Family court will make the final decision. But I'm recommending that Emma remain with her grandparents with the following conditions. The Hells Angels Club will be recognized as an approved support network, with the understanding that any criminal activity involving club members will result in immediate removal of Emma from the home. Mr. and Mrs. Hartley will participate in support groups for kinship caregivers, and you, Mr. Cole, will undergo a formal background check and psychological evaluation before being granted regular contact with Emma. Reaper's breath left him in a rush. She gets to stay. If the judge approves my recommendation, yes, she gets to stay with supervision, with accountability, but she stays. Miss Brennan's expression softened. You scared me, Mr. Cole, you all did. I saw patches and records and assumed danger, but Emma helped me see what I was missing. Sometimes the most unlikely people become the most necessary ones. Just don't make me regret this. You won't. I swear on my life, you won't. The family court hearing was scheduled for the following week. Helen and Robert testified about their love for Emma and their gratitude for the support they'd received. Bones presented medical documentation. Chains showed financial records, proving the club's charitable intentions. Emma's therapist testified that the child had shown marked improvement since the MC's involvement. And then Emma herself was allowed to speak. The judge, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, asked Emma to approach the bench. Emma wheeled forward, the guardian bell visible around her neck. Emma, do you understand why we're here today? Yes, ma'am. You're deciding if I get to stay with Grandma and Grandpa, or if I have to go somewhere else. And what do you want? I want to stay. I want Grandma and Grandpa, and I want Reaper to be allowed to visit me, because he's important to me. Can you tell me why he's important? Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled the guardian bell from under her shirt. This belonged to his wife. She died 4 years ago, and he's been sad and alone ever since. He gave it to me, because he said even if he can't always be there, this can be. He wanted me to remember that somebody cares enough to want me safe. Her small voice filled the courtroom. Before I met Reaper, I didn't want to be alive anymore. I missed my mama too much, and I thought I was too much trouble for Grandma and Grandpa. But Reaper taught me that being broken doesn't mean being worthless. He's broken too, but he still shows up. He still tries. He still cares. And if he can do that, then maybe I can, too. The judge wiped her eyes. Emma, I've reviewed all the documentation, all the testimonies, and Miss Brennan's recommendation. I'm approving her decision. You will remain with your grandparents, with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club recognized as an approved support network, under supervision. Mr. Cole approached the bench. Please. Reaper stood, his heart hammering. Mr. Cole, I'm going to be frank with you. Your record concerns me. Your lifestyle concerns me. But Emma's improvement since you entered her life is undeniable. So I'm giving you a chance. One chance. You will undergo the required background check and psychological evaluation. You will maintain appropriate boundaries with this child. And if you ever do anything that puts her at risk, I will personally ensure you never see her again. Is that understood? Yes, Your Honor. Completely understood. Good. Because that little girl believes in you. Don't make her regret it. The judge banged her gavel. This hearing is concluded. Emma remains with her grandparents. Case closed. The courtroom erupted. Helen and Robert sobbed with relief. MC brothers clapped and whistled. Emma wheeled straight to Reaper, who dropped to his knees in front of her wheelchair. We won, she whispered. Yeah, kid. We won. She threw her arms around his neck and Reaper held her. This tiny, fierce girl who'd asked if she could sit with him and changed absolutely everything. Outside the courthouse, Hammer clapped Reaper on the shoulder. You pulled it off, brother. Against all odds, you actually pulled it off. We pulled it off. Couldn't have done it without the club. True, but it was your fight. Your kid, Hammer grinned. Hell of a thing. Watching the meanest sergeant-at-arms in the state get wrapped around a 9-year-old's finger. She's not. Reaper stopped. Yeah, she is. And I'm good with that. That night, Emma sat in the diner booth across from Reaper. Exactly where she'd sat that first morning. Her grandparents were at the counter, giving them space. The guardian bell hung from her neck, catching the light. So, we can keep doing this. Coming here every morning. As long as you want to. What if I always want to? Reaper smiled, a real smile. The kind he hadn't managed in 4 years. Then I guess we're having breakfast together for a very long time. Kid. Emma picked up her pencil and started a new drawing. This one showed their booth. Coffee and pancakes. Morning light streaming through windows. And in the corner, almost hidden, but definitely there, she drew 2 angels watching over them. One with dark hair like Maria. One with Emma's mother's gentle smile. They're happy we found each other, Emma said softly. I can tell. Reaper looked at the drawing, at the angels, at this impossible girl who'd saved him by asking if she could sit down. Yeah, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I think they are. The breakfast routine became sacred. Every morning at 7:15, Emma waited at their booth with her sketchbook and orange juice. Every morning at 7:20, Reaper walked through the door with coffee already steaming in his hand. Maggie stopped asking for orders. She just brought pancakes with strawberries and eggs over easy and left them alone. 3 weeks after the court hearing, Emma showed him a new drawing. Not her usual careful sketches. This one was rough, angry slashes of graphite across paper. Bad dream. Reaper asked. Bad everything. Physical therapy hurt yesterday. My legs wouldn't do what they're supposed to. The therapist kept saying, try harder, like I wasn't already trying as hard as I could. Emma's pencil dug into the paper. Sometimes I hate my body. Is that wrong? No, it's honest. Your body's not cooperating with what your brain wants. That's frustrating as hell. Grandma says, I shouldn't talk like that, that I should be grateful for what I have. You can be grateful and angry at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. Reaper took a sip of coffee. I was grateful I survived the crash that killed Maria. And I was angry every single day that I did. Took me 3 years to figure out both feelings could be true. Emma stopped drawing. Do you still feel angry? Sometimes less. Now the anger comes in waves, instead of being constant. What changed? Met a kid who asked if she could sit with me. Reaper's mouth quirked. Made me realize surviving might actually be worth something. Emma smiled. But it faded quickly. Physical therapy wants me there 4 times a week now. Dr. Brennan says if I work really hard, I might be able to walk short distances with a walker by next year. But that's a whole year of pain and trying. And maybe it won't even work. You want to quit. I want to not hurt all the time. I want my legs to just work without having to think about every single movement. I want her voice broke. I want to be normal. Kid, nobody's normal. Normal is a myth people tell themselves to feel better. You know what I mean. I want to walk into school without everyone staring. I want to go to the bathroom without needing help. I want to play at recess like the other kids. Emma's hands clenched. I want my mama back and my old life back, and I can't have any of it. So what's the point of trying? Reaper sat down his coffee carefully. The point is tomorrow's going to come whether you try or not. Question is whether you want to face it stronger or weaker. Physical therapy sucks, but it makes you stronger. Giving up might feel easier in the moment, but you wake up the next day even weaker than before. But what if I try really hard and nothing changes? What if I'm stuck like this forever? Then you're stuck like this forever. And you know what? That's okay, too, because you're more than your legs. Emma, you're an artist. You're funny. You're brave enough to sit with scary bikers. Walking doesn't define you. Emma's eyes filled. But it would make things easier. Yeah, it would. So, keep trying. Not because you have to prove anything, but because easier is worth working for. Just don't tie your worth to whether your legs cooperate. Deal. Deal. 2 weeks later, Emma started 4th grade. Reaper drove her on the first day because Helen's arthritis was flaring and Robert had thrown his back out lifting boxes. Emma sat in the passenger seat of his truck, her wheelchair folded in the bed, her face pale. What if the kids are mean? Some of them will be. Kids are honest in the worst ways sometimes. That's not reassuring. Wasn't trying to reassure you. Was trying to prepare you. Reaper pulled into the school parking lot. But here's the thing. Mean kids usually get bored fast when you don't give them the reaction they want. They're looking for fear or tears. Don't give them either. What do I give them? Nothing. Just be you. Draw your pictures. Do your work. Let them waste their energy being stupid while you waste yours learning something useful. Emma nodded, but her hands trembled as she gripped her backpack. Will you pick me up? 3 o'clock. Right here. Promise. Promise. At 3:15. Reaper waited in the pickup zone. Emma emerged with her teacher, her face carefully blank. She said nothing until they were in the truck. Door closed, engine running. Then she started crying. What happened? They called me names, said I looked weird, said my wheelchair was stupid. At lunch, nobody wanted to sit with me, so I sat alone, and in pay. Everyone had to play kickball except me. I had to sit on the side and watch. Emma's words tumbled out between sobs. I hate it. I hate school. I don't want to go back. Reaper drove in silence for a moment. You're going back, but they're mean. Yeah. And they'll be mean tomorrow, too. But you're going back because running away from mean kids just teaches you to run away from hard things. And you're not a runner, Emma. You're a fighter. I don't feel like a fighter. Fighters rarely do. They just fight anyway. That night, Emma refused dinner. Helen called Reaper in a panic. She's shutting down again. What do I do? Put her on the phone. Emma's voice was small. Hi, you eating anything? Not hungry. Tough. Your body needs fuel, whether you want it or not. Go eat something. Doesn't matter what. Just eat. Why should I? So I can go back to school tomorrow and be the weird kid everyone avoids. No. So you can prove to yourself that other people's cruelty doesn't control you. They don't get to decide whether you eat, whether you try, whether you survive. That's your choice, not theirs. Silence. Then can you come over? Already in my truck, 20 minutes later. Reaper sat with Emma at the kitchen table while she forced down toast and soup. Helen and Robert hovered anxiously until Reaper sent them away with a look. Tomorrow's going to be hard, too, Emma said finally. Yep. And the day after that. Probably. When does it get easier? When you stop caring what they think and start caring what you think of yourself. Reaper pushed her water glass closer. Drink. She drank. I wish you could come to school with me. Yeah. That would go over well. Convicted felon hanging around elementary school. Despite everything, Emma almost smiled. You could wait outside. Be scary at anyone who's mean. Tempting, but you don't need me to fight your battles. You're tougher than you know. I don't feel tough. Maria used to say that about me after her diagnosis when she was doing chemo, losing her hair, throwing up constantly. She'd look at me and say, "You're so strong," and I'd think, "I'm falling apart inside." But she said, "Strength isn't about feeling strong. It's about doing what needs doing, even when you feel weak." Emma picked at her toast. Did she beat the cancer? No, but she fought like hell for 18 months, longer than the doctors predicted, and she did it with grace and courage I couldn't match. Reaper's voice roughened. "You remind me of her sometimes. That same quiet strength wrapped in fear. I'm nothing like her. She was an adult. She was brave. You're 9 years old, heading back to a place that hurt you, because you know running away's worse. That's not brave." Emma considered this. "Maybe a little brave, more than a little. Now finish your soup." The next day at pickup, Emma's expression was marginally better. "Only 2 kids were mean today. One said sorry later. His mom made him progress. And a girl in my class asked to see my drawings. She said they were really good. They are really good. Her name's Sophie. She might sit with me at lunch tomorrow." Relief flooded Reaper's chest. "That would be nice." "Yeah, it would." Emma paused. "Thank you for making me go back. You made yourself go back. I just reminded you that you could." By October, Emma had 3 friends at school. Sophie, Marcus, and Lily formed a small circle around her at lunch, admiring her artwork and asking questions about her wheelchair without cruelty. Emma still had bad days. Kids could be thoughtlessly cruel, but the good days outnumbered them now. Then Robert collapsed. Reaper got the call from Helen at 2 in the morning. "He's at County General. Heart attack. They're doing surgery now." I can't. Emma's with me, but she's terrified, and I don't know what to tell her. "I'm coming." The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Emma sat in her wheelchair, still in her pajamas, eyes red from crying. Helen paced, her hands shaking. Reaper walked in, and Emma immediately wheeled toward him. "Grandpa might die. Might. But he's tough, and he's got good doctors." "But what if he does die? What happens to me and Grandma?" Helen's face crumpled. "Emma, sweetheart, don't think about that now." "Why not? Everyone keeps dying. First Mama, and now maybe Grandpa. And then Grandma will be all alone with me, and she can't do it by herself. And then I'll have to go to a group home and stop." Reaper knelt in front of her wheelchair. "Your grandpa's in surgery right now. Let's deal with what's happening, not what might happen. But I'm scared." "I know, me too. Being scared just means you love him. That's not weakness." They waited 4 hours. Emma fell asleep against Reaper's shoulder, her wheelchair parked beside the uncomfortable plastic chair. Helen dozed fitfully. Reaper stayed awake, watching the surgery doors, remembering another hospital 4 years ago, when they told him Maria didn't make it. The surgeon finally emerged at 6 a.m. "Mrs. Hartley, your husband's stable. The bypass was successful. He'll need significant recovery time and lifestyle changes, but he should be fine." Helen collapsed into tears. Emma woke up confused. "Is Grandpa okay?" "He's okay, kid. He's okay." But the close call shifted something in the household. Robert came home 2 weeks later, weak and shaken. He couldn't lift Emma anymore, could barely manage his own daily tasks. The already precarious balance of their household tilted dangerously. "We need more help," Helen admitted to Reaper one afternoon, while Emma was at physical therapy. "I can't do this alone. Robert can't do anything physical for months. And Emma, she's getting heavier as she grows. I can barely lift her into the car anymore." "What do you need?" "Everything. A home health aid, better equipment, another vehicle that's wheelchair accessible. We're drowning again, Reaper, and I'm terrified we'll lose her this time, because we genuinely can't manage." Reaper called another emergency church meeting. This time, nobody objected. They'd all seen Emma at club events. She'd drawn portraits of half the brothers, always capturing something essential about them. They'd gone from suspicious to protective in 6 months. "We need to step up," Reaper told them. "Robert's recovery will take months. Helen can't handle everything alone. We need to provide practical support, rides to appointments, help with household tasks, maybe fundraise for a wheelchair-accessible van. Chain spoke up. The toy runs next month. We could dedicate proceeds to the van fund. I've got a buddy who's a home health aide, Bones added. I'll see if he'll do subsidized rates. Ball, who'd been skeptical from the start, finally raised his hand. My sister's kid has cerebral palsy. I've been watching what you've done with Emma. It's good work. Count me in. The support rolled in. Within 2 weeks, a home health aide was visiting 3 times a week. The toy run raised $12,000 toward a van. Brothers took turns driving Emma to appointments, giving Helen breaks to care for Robert, and Emma bloomed in the attention. She started calling Bones Uncle Bones and Chains Uncle Chains. She drew Christmas cards for the entire chapter. She attended club family events, wheeling around barbecues and picnics, like she'd always belonged there. But in January, Emma had her worst setback yet. Reaper found her sobbing in the diner bathroom, having wheeled in alone, while Helen paid the bill. He knocked gently. Emma. It's me. Go away. Not happening. What's wrong? Everything. Physical therapy isn't working. Dr. Brennan says I might not ever walk, even with the walker. A whole year of pain and trying. And it's all for nothing. Her voice broke into wails. And Marcus at school said his mom doesn't want him hanging out with me anymore, because I'm too much work to have around. And I miss my mama so much and she's never coming back. And everyone keeps saying it will get better, but it doesn't. It just keeps being hard. And I'm so tired of being brave. Reaper's chest ached. Emma, open the door. No, please. After a long moment, the lock clicked. Emma sat on the bathroom floor. She'd somehow gotten out of her wheelchair, tears streaming down her face. Makeup from Helen's lipstick she'd been playing with smeared across her cheeks. Reaper sat down beside her, his back against the wall. You're right. It doesn't get better. Not the way people promise. Emma looked at him, startled by his honesty. It gets different, he continued. The pain changes shape. Instead of sharp and constant, it becomes dull and occasional. Instead of drowning you, it just trips you up sometimes, but better. No, you'll always miss your mama. You'll always wish things were different. That doesn't go away. Then what's the point? The point is, even though it doesn't get better, you get stronger. You learn to carry the weight. And you find people who help you carry it. Reaper looked at her directly. Marcus' mom is an idiot. You're not too much work. You're exactly the right amount of Emma. And anyone who can't handle that doesn't deserve you in their life. But it's not just her. People keep deciding I'm too hard, too complicated, too broken. Then they're not your people. Your people are the ones who stay even when it's hard. Like your grandparents, like the club, like me. Emma wiped her face, smearing the lipstick worse. What if you decide I'm too much? Not possible. How do you know? Because you asked if you could sit with me when I was at my absolute worst, and you didn't run away when you saw how broken I was. That kind of loyalty goes both ways, kid. I'm not going anywhere. Emma leaned against his shoulder, and they sat on that bathroom floor for 10 minutes while she cried herself out. Finally, she whispered, "Can we get ice cream instead of finishing breakfast?" Absolutely. Helen was frantic when they emerged. Emma, I was about to call. My fault. Reaper cut in. Had a talk. We're getting ice cream now. They went to the ice cream shop and Emma got chocolate with gummy bears. Her sadness order, she called it. Reaper got vanilla and let her tell him everything that hurt, everything that scared her, everything she couldn't say to her grandparents because she didn't want to worry them more. Sophie invited me to her birthday party next month. Emma said finally. It's at a roller rink, and you can't skate. No, but she said she'd sit with me if I came. Just hang out and not skate. She said having me there was more important than skating. Sophie's good people. Yeah, she is. Emma took another bite of ice cream. Maybe Marcus's mom was wrong. Maybe I'm not too much for everyone, just too much for some people. Exactly right. And the people who stay, they're my real family, blood or not. Reaper smiled, blood or not. That night, Emma showed him a new drawing. It wasn't dark like her early work, but it wasn't entirely light either. It showed her in her wheelchair, surrounded by figures, her grandparents, the MC brothers, Sophie, and her other school friends. Above them, 2 angels watched, and underneath in careful letters, "My family. All of them." "Can I keep this one?" Reaper asked. "Really? You want it?" "Yeah. Want to remember this moment when you figured out what matters." Emma smiled, a real smile reaching her eyes. "You can have it. Family shares things, right?" "Right." 3 days later, Maria's mother called. Reaper hadn't spoken to her in 2 years, couldn't face her grief on top of his own. But her voice on the phone was gentle, curious. "Jackson, I heard something strange. Someone said they saw you with a little girl in a wheelchair at the grocery store. You looked happy." Reaper's throat tightened. "Her name's Emma. She's 9. She's important to me. Tell me about her." And Reaper told her everything. The diner, the drawings, the court battle. The way Emma had somehow pulled him back from the edge of giving up entirely. Maria's mother listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then Maria would have loved her. "Yeah, I think so, too. Would you bring her to meet me? I'd like to see what's made you smile again." The meeting happened the following Sunday. Maria's mother, Patricia, lived in a small house filled with photos of Maria. Emma wheeled through slowly, studying each one. "She was pretty," Emma said softly. "She was beautiful." Patricia agreed. Inside and out, Reaper loved her very much, and she loved him. But she'd be glad he found you. She always said Jackson needed someone to take care of. He's a protector at heart. Emma looked at Reaper. "Is that true?" "Maybe." Reaper shifted uncomfortably. "Maria understood me better than I understood myself." Patricia served lunch, and they talked 4 hours. Emma showed Patricia her drawings, including the one with the 2 angels. Patricia cried, but smiled through her tears. "Thank you," she told Emma, "for taking care of him, for reminding him how to live." "He reminds me too," Emma said simply. "We remind each other." As they left, Patricia hugged Reaper tightly. "You have my blessing, Jackson. Whatever this is, however it grows, you have my blessing. Maria would want this for you." In the truck, Emma was quiet. "Finally. I was scared she'd hate me for being with you instead of her daughter." "She could never hate you. You're impossible to hate. Some people manage. Then they're idiots." Reaper started the engine. "Ready for the next thing." "What next thing?" "The ride I've been building. Something special for you. Should be done next week." Emma's eyes widened. "A motorcycle thing?" "Maybe. Can I know what it is?" "Nope." Surprised. Emma practically vibrated with excitement. "I hate surprises, liar. You love surprises." She grinned. "Okay. I love surprises, but I still hate waiting. Good things are worth waiting for, kid." The following Saturday, Reaper pulled up to the Hartley house with his Holly, but it looked different. A custom sidecar had been attached, purple like Emma's wheelchair, with proper safety restraints, and even a small compartment for her sketchbook. Emma screamed with delight. "Is that for me? Really for me? Really for you?" "Bones helped me design it. It's safe, it's sturdy, and it'll let you feel what riding's like." Reaper helped her into the sidecar, securing the restraints. "Ready?" "Yes." "Oh my God." "Yes." Helen and Robert watched nervously. "Are you sure this is safe?" "Safer than most cars." "I'll go slow, just around the neighborhood." But once they were moving, once Emma felt the wind in her face and the vibration of the engine, and the freedom she'd only drawn about, her laughter filled the street. Pure uncomplicated joy. "Faster," she yelled. "Not yet. Got to earn faster." They rode for 20 minutes, circling the quiet streets, while Emma squealed with delight. When they finally stopped, her hair was wild, her face flushed, her smile incandescent. "That was amazing. Can we go again tomorrow? Maybe if your grandparents say okay." Helen was crying again. Happy tears this time. "Look at her face, Robert. When's the last time we saw her this happy?" "Never," Robert admitted. "Not even before the accident." Emma wheeled up the ramp Reaper had built months ago. "I felt free, like I could go anywhere, like nothing could stop me." "That's what riding's about," Reaper said. "Freedom. Can we take a longer ride sometime?" like to the beach or the mountains. When you're ready. When your grandparents are comfortable. But yeah, we'll take longer rides. I'll show you all the places I've been, promise. Reaper looked at this girl who'd asked if she could sit with him and changed his entire life. Yeah, kid, I promise. And this time, he meant it with everything he had. Spring brought Emma's 10th birthday, and with it Helen and Robert's quiet announcement over breakfast at the diner. We've been thinking, Helen started, her hands trembling around her coffee cup, about making things more official, more permanent. Emma stopped, mid-bite of her pancakes. What do you mean? Robert cleared his throat. We want to adopt you, sweetheart, not just foster care anymore, real adoption, make you legally ours. Emma's fork clattered against her plate. You want to adopt me, even though it's hard, especially because of that. Helen reached across to squeeze her granddaughter's hand. You're our daughter's child. You're ours. We should have done this a year ago, but we were scared. Scared we weren't enough. But we're not doing this alone anymore, and we want you to know you're permanent forever. Reaper watched Emma's face cycle through shock, hope, fear, and finally something that looked like peace. Forever, forever. Robert confirmed. What about? Emma glanced at Reaper. What about Reaper? Would he still? Helen smiled. We've been talking about that, too. We'd like to ask the court to grant Jackson legal guardianship rights. Not adoption, but something official. So, if anything happened to us, you wouldn't go into the system. You'd have him. Reaper's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. What? You heard us. Robert's voice was firm. You've been more present in her life than most blood relatives. We trust you. More importantly, Emma trusts you. We want it legal. I have a record. The court already questioned. The court also saw how you changed her life. How you changed all our lives. Helen's eyes filled. We're not asking you to raise her alone. We're asking you to be her safety net if we can't be here. Will you do that? Emma's hand found Reaper's across the table. Please say yes, please. Reaper looked at this child who'd asked if she could sit with him and systematically dismantled every wall he'd built around his heart. At these elderly parents who'd taken a chance on a convicted felon because they'd seen past his reputation. At the future suddenly spreading out before him, no longer empty and endless, but full of purpose and terrifying responsibility. Yeah, he said, his voice rough. Yeah, I'll do that. Emma launched herself from her wheelchair into his arms, nearly knocking him off the booth bench. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Easy, kid. You're going to break something. I don't care. You're going to be my guardian. That's almost like you're my dad. The word hit Reaper like a freight train. Dad. He'd never been a father. Never thought he would be. Maria had wanted children, but they'd run out of time. And now this girl, with her mother's eyes and her grandmother's determination, was calling him something he'd never deserved. Not your dad, he managed. Just your guardian. Close enough. Emma grinned through tears. Can I call you that when it's official? Call me what? Dad or maybe Papa? Or how about we stick with Reaper for now and see how things go? But his throat was tight and his eyes burned, and Emma seemed to understand what he couldn't say. The adoption process took 3 months. Court dates, home visits, psychological evaluations, all the machinery of the system grinding slowly toward permanence. Ms. Brennan conducted the final evaluation with something that almost looked like pride. I'll be honest, I never expected this outcome when I first got this case. A Hell's Angel sergeant at arms as a legal guardian. It sounds like a terrible idea on paper. She smiled at Emma. But paper doesn't show a heart. You've all proven that family is what you make it, not what DNA decides. The adoption hearing was scheduled for June 15th. The same judge who'd allowed Emma to stay with her grandparents presided. This time, when Emma wheeled up to testify, she wasn't scared. Your Honor, I want Grandma and Grandpa to adopt me. And I want Reaper Jackson Cole to be my legal guardian, too. He's family. He's chosen family. And that counts just as much as blood family. The judge looked at Reaper. Mr. Cole, do you understand the responsibilities you're accepting? If something happens to Mr. and Mrs. Hartley, Emma becomes your responsibility full-time. No going back. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. And you're prepared for that. A biker with a criminal record raising a disabled 10-year-old girl. Your Honor, I've been preparing for that since she asked if she could sit with me 18 months ago. I might not be conventional father material, but I'll protect her with my life and make sure she has everything she needs. That's my word. And your motorcycle club? How do they feel about this arrangement? They're supportive. Emma's part of our extended family now. She's got 23 uncles who'd ride through hell for her. The judge made notes, her expression thoughtful. Finally, she looked up. I'm approving this petition. Mr. and Mrs. Hartley, Emma is officially your adopted daughter. And Mr. Cole, you were granted legal guardianship with full parental rights should Mr. and Mrs. Hartley become unable to care for Emma. Congratulations to you all. The clubhouse party that night was legendary. The brothers had transformed the rough space into something almost family-friendly. Balloons, streamers, a massive cake shaped like a motorcycle with a purple sidecar. Emma wheeled through the crowd accepting hugs and high fives. Her face glowing. Speech. Chains called out. The kid needs to make a speech. Emma looked terrified. I don't know what to say. Just say what you feel. Reaper encouraged. She took a deep breath and raised her voice over the crowd noise. Hi everyone. A year and a half ago, I was really alone. My mama had died and I didn't think anyone would want me because I was too much trouble. But then I asked if I could sit with Reaper and he said yes. And that one yes changed everything. The room went quiet. Rough men listening intently to a 10-year-old speech. You all taught me that family isn't about being perfect or easy. It's about showing up even when things are hard. Grandma and Grandpa showed up. Reaper showed up. All of you showed up. And now I'm not alone anymore. So, thank you for being my family. For letting me be yours. There wasn't a dry eye in the clubhouse. Hammer wiped his face roughly. Bones cleared his throat multiple times. Even Ball, who'd been skeptical from the start, looked suspiciously moist around the eyes. To Emma. Knuckles raised his beer. Our newest family member. To Emma. The room roared back, but the celebration was cut short by Reaper's phone buzzing. Helen's number. His stomach dropped. She wouldn't call during the party, unless something was wrong. Helen Jackson, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're at the hospital. Robert's chest pains came back. They're running tests now, and Emma doesn't know yet. She's still at the party, but I thought you should. We're coming. 10 minutes. Emma knew something was wrong the moment she saw his face. What happened? Your grandpa's at the hospital. Chest pains. They're checking him out. Her face went white. Is he dying? Don't know yet, but we're going to find out. The ride to the hospital was silent except for Emma's ragged breathing. Reaper could feel her panic building, the old fears rushing back. Everyone leaves. Everyone dies. Everyone abandons her. Emma, listen to me. Whatever happens, you're not alone. You understand. Even if he couldn't finish the sentence. Even if Grandpa dies, I still have you. Yeah, you still have me. And Grandma. And the whole club and your friends at school. You're not that lonely kid in the diner anymore, Emma. You've got a whole army behind you. She nodded, but kept crying. Robert's heart attack was minor. Stress-induced, the doctors said. Aggravated by his earlier surgery and ongoing recovery. They kept him overnight for observation and sent him home with strict orders about diet, exercise, and stress management. But the scare aged Helen visibly. She pulled Reaper aside while Emma was visiting Robert's room. I don't know how many more of these we have in us, Jackson. We're not young. What if next time? Then next time we deal with it. But right now. Robert's okay. Focus on that. I need to know Emma will be safe. Really safe if we're not here. She will be. I gave you my word. That kid's got me for as long as she needs me. Helen grabbed his hand. Thank you for loving her when she needed it most. For loving us when we needed it. 2 weeks later, Emma came home from school crying again. But this time, it wasn't about her. It was about another girl. There's a new kid in my class. Her name's Zara. She's in a wheelchair, too, but but she doesn't have anyone. She sits alone at lunch, and nobody talks to her, and she looks so sad. And I remember feeling like that, and I want to help her, but I don't know how. Reaper looked at this child who'd been so broken 18 months ago, and was now worried about someone else's brokenness. What do you think you should do? Ask if I can sit with her. Sounds like a good start. Emma bit her lip. What if she says no? What if she doesn't want my help? Then at least you tried. But kid, you asked if you could sit with me when I looked like I'd bite your head off. You've got the courage for this. The next day, Emma came home glowing. She said yes. Zara said yes. And we had lunch together. And she draws, too. And she's funny. And I think we're going to be friends. Over the following weeks, Emma brought Zara into her circle. Sophie, Lily, and Marcus welcomed her. Emma taught Zara the routes with the best ramps, the bathrooms with the most space, the teachers who were patient versus the ones who were impatient. She was passing forward everything Reaper had given her. Acceptance, understanding, practical help. You're doing good work, Reaper told her one morning at the diner. I'm just being her friend. That's the good work. Being someone's friend when they need it most. Emma, look thoughtful. Is that what you did for me? Just be my friend. At first, yeah, though it turned into something more. Family. Do you think Zara needs a family, too? Most people do, kid. Most people are just as scared to ask for one. Emma pulled out her sketchbook and showed him a new drawing. Her and Zara at lunch, both wheelchairs parked side by side, both smiling. I'm going to show her she's not alone, just like you showed me. Summer came, and with it, Emma's first real motorcycle trip. Reaper planned it carefully, a ride up the coast to a beach town overnight in a hotel back the next day. Helen and Robert were nervous, but agreed. Just keep her safe, Helen said, helping Emma into the sidecar. Always do. The ride took 4 hours, stopping frequently for Emma to rest and use the bathroom and just enjoy the scenery. She sketched constantly, capturing roadside diners and ocean views and the feeling of wind and freedom. By the time they reached the hotel, her face was sunburnt and her hair was wild, and she'd never looked happier. Can we do this every summer? If you want, I want to see everything. All the places you've been, all the roads you've traveled. They ate dinner at a seafood shack and walked. Reaper walked, Emma wheeled, along the beach boardwalk as the sun set. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, and Emma stared at it with something like wonder. Mama never took me to the ocean. She always said she would, but we ran out of time. She'd be glad you're here now. Do you think she watches me? Like actually watches? Reaper thought about Maria, about the guardian bell Emma still wore, about all the ways the dead stayed present. Yeah, I think she does. And I think she's proud of you. What about your wife? Does she watch you? I like to think so. And I think she's glad I found you. She always said I needed someone to take care of. Emma smiled. We take care of each other. Yeah, kid, we do. That night in adjacent hotel rooms, Reaper lay awake thinking about how his life had transformed. 18 months ago, he'd been a ghost going through motions without purpose. Now he was planning summer trips and worried about sunscreen, and thinking about Emma's future, college, career, independence. The scared little girl who'd asked if she could sit with him had given him a reason to live. And somehow in saving her, she'd saved him. The next morning, they rode back, taking a different route so Emma could see new things. They stopped at a diner halfway home, not their diner, just a random roadside place, and ordered breakfast. Emma looked around with interest, studying the other customers. A family sat in the corner booth, parents and 2 kids laughing and talking. Emma watched them wistfully. They look happy. They do. Do you think we look happy when people see us together? Reaper considered this. A scarred biker and a disabled kid in a wheelchair. They probably look strange, maybe even concerning to outsiders. But happy. I think we look real. And that's better than happy. Real means we've earned what we have. I like real. Me too. Kid. 6 months later, Emma was invited to speak at a foster care awareness event. She was terrified, but Reaper and her grandparents sat in the front row, while she wheeled onto the stage. My name is Emma Hartley. I'm 10 years old. My mother died in a car accident when I was 8, and I ended up in foster care with my grandparents. For a long time, I thought I was too much trouble, too broken, too hard to love. Her voice strengthened as she continued. But then I met someone who saw past all that. He was scary looking, big and tattooed, and rough. Most people avoided him, but I asked if I could sit with him, and he said yes, and that one yes changed my life. She told the story, the diner, the drawings, the guardian bell, the court battles, the family they'd built from broken pieces. I'm not going to tell you everything got easy. It didn't. I still have bad days. I still miss my mama. I still struggle with my disability, but I'm not alone anymore, and that makes everything bearable. The audience was silent, absorbed. So, if you're fostering a child, or thinking about it, or wondering if you can handle it, know this: you don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up. You have to be brave enough to say yes when a scared kid asks if they can sit with you, because that's all family really is. People who show up for each other over and over, no matter how hard it gets. The applause was thunderous. Emma wheeled off stage and straight into Reaper's arms. Did I do okay? You did perfect, kid. That night, back at the diner, their booth, Emma showed him her latest drawing. It was the most complex she'd ever done. The diner interior, their booth, her sitting across from him, just like that first morning. But in the background, barely visible, were two figures, Maria and Emma's mother, watching them with approval. They're happy we found each other, Emma said softly. I know they are. Reaper traced the outline of Maria's figure with one callous finger. Yeah, they are. Do you think we'll always come here to this diner, this booth, as long as you want to forever then? This is where it all started, where you said yes when I asked if I could sit with you. This is where our family began. Reaper looked at this extraordinary child who'd grown from a frightened, broken 8-year-old into a confident, compassionate 10-year-old, who'd taught him that healing wasn't about forgetting pain, but about learning to carry it with grace, who'd reminded him that family wasn't about perfection, but about persistence. Emma, I need to tell you something. She looked up, suddenly worried. What? That day you asked if you could sit with me. I almost said no. I was so buried in my grief and anger that I didn't want anyone close. But something about you made me say yes instead. And that yes saved my life just as much as it saved yours. Emma's eyes filled. Really? Really? You think you're the only one who got rescued that day? I was drowning, kid. Had been drowning for 4 years. You threw me a lifeline just by seeing me as someone worth sitting with. So, we saved each other. Yeah, we saved each other. Emma pulled out the guardian bell, Maria's bell, now hers, and held it up to catch the light. Mama gave this to you to keep you safe. You gave it to me to keep me safe, and now it's keeping both of us safe. That's pretty cool. That's family, kid. We keep each other safe. Maggie refilled their coffee and juice with a knowing smile. You two good? We're good, Emma confirmed. We're really, really good. As they finished breakfast, a young woman entered the diner with a little boy in a wheelchair. The child looked frightened, uncertain, clinging to his mother's hand. Emma watched them for a moment, then turned to Reaper. Can I? Yeah, go ahead. Emma wheeled over to their table, her face open and kind. Reaper couldn't hear what she said, but he saw the little boy's expression shift from fear to curiosity. Saw Emma pull out her sketchbook and show him something. Saw the mother's eyes fill with grateful tears. 3 minutes later, Emma wheeled back. His name is Marcus. Different Marcus than my school friend. He just got his wheelchair last month, and he's scared. I told him it gets easier. I told him about places with good ramps and friends who don't care about wheels. And I told him about you. What did you tell him about me? That you're a scary-looking biker who's actually really nice. And that, if he ever needs help, we're here. Emma grinned. I gave his mom our phone number. Hope that's okay. Reaper looked at this child who'd been saved and was now saving others, who'd been lost and was now a light for those still finding their way. That's more than okay. Kid, that's perfect. I learned from the best. You learned from yourself. I just gave you space to grow. Emma reached across the table and took his hand. Small fingers wrapping around scarred knuckles, the guardian bell glinting between them. We're going to be okay, aren't we? No matter what happens, we're going to be okay. Reaper squeezed her hand gently, feeling the weight of promises kept and futures opening before them. Yeah, kid, we're going to be okay, because we're not riding solo anymore. Nobody rides alone. That's the rule, and we don't break rules. Emma laughed and the sound filled the diner like music, like hope, like the answer to every prayer Reaper hadn't known how to pray. Nobody rides alone. Nobody rides alone. He echoed and meant it with everything he had, with every scar, every regret, every hard-won piece of healing he'd earned since a 9-year-old girl had asked if she could sit with him and changed absolutely everything. Outside, the morning sun climbed higher, casting light through the diner windows. In that worn corner booth, a biker and a child in a wheelchair sat together over breakfast, exactly where they belonged, exactly where they'd always belonged. In the family they'd built from broken pieces, held together by courage and grace and the simple power of showing up for each other again and again, no matter what. That was enough. That would always be enough.